My name is Karen Lee, and welcome to Dallas Singles Toastmasters, Dallas Social Toastmasters. We are meeting virtually this Thursday, and I'm the backup facilitator. I'll ask you to go ahead and mute yourself if you're not speaking. And also our speakers, Adelita and Tom, be sure to pin the timer. And I'll go ahead and show you the agenda. You go to our Dallas Social Toastmasters website and click on current agenda. And this is tonight's agenda. And I'll go ahead and stop sharing at this moment and turn our meeting over to our Toastmaster, Mark Schroeder.
Thank you so much, Karen. As Toastmaster tonight, it was really tough to pick a theme because there are just too many things that are all going on that would have been interesting. National Dessert Day, of course, that's a good one to get everybody together for having something fun. It also is October, and October is, of course, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Have the pink t-shirt on to prove it. And I finally decided instead I was going to do stress and sleeplessness. And I picked that because we're coming up on the holidays. A lot of people have got trouble with sleep in the first place, but especially at the holidays, there's a lot of extra stress that people have. And so it is very, very common for people at the holidays to experience that extra stress. And if you can't sleep, things are not going to be good. So I want to go through just a few things, and then we will go over other parts of the agenda. Let's see, to start off with, let me find one thing I have to pull up. This particular information is going to come from, I have to give the attribution, it's going to come from the bulletproof.com website, and it was written by a Dana Shavin. The credentials that this person has is a CPCC, and I did not have any earthly idea what that was, but it turns out that that is a certified professional co-active coach. So this is a life coach, and at least people with that designation consider themselves to be the kind of gold standard for being a life coach. Let's go through just a little bit about what sleep and stress have to do with each other. First of all, it is true in many studies that chronic undersleeping has been linked to a lot of things, including mood disorders, chronic health problems, and an underperforming immune system. One of the largest sleep studies to date found that regardless of age, you need 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Routinely sleeping only 4 hours, the participants function as if they were about 9 years older than they actually are. But it's also true that if the people who have slept more than 9 hours a night, they were every bit as impaired as those who slept too little. Now, stress causes a lot of things. It can cause poor work performance, short and long-term memory problems, brain fog, decreased energy, and any of those can interfere with your sleep. And if you end up having your sleep interfered with, then that makes those things worse, and making those things worse interferes with your sleep worse. So it's a vicious cycle. Being in a heightened state of arousal because of stress, especially long-term stress, can interfere with your ability to fall asleep, to stay asleep, and even to wake up. You may not spend as many of the hours or minutes that would be typical in each of the 4 stages of sleep, and that can make you drowsy or irritable in the morning. Let me talk about 4 ways that you can de-stress before bedtime. The first one is set aside some designated worry time, in quotes. We all have times that we set aside for eating, for doing our meals. A lot of us set aside time for doing our exercise, if you will, for stressing our body. The recommendation here is to set aside time for worrying, time that is not near your sleep time. And so during this particular time, whenever you designate, that's when you let your mind go whatever is worrisome territory for you and let it go wherever it wants. You can choose to write down a list of everything that you're worried about, make a journal. But the most important thing is that remember, when your time is up, you're done. You need to return to your day and put all of that aside. And so takes a bit of mental gymnastics perhaps to do that, but that's what you want to do. The second of the four things that I'm going to talk about, committing to some sort of mind-body practices. There are a number of mindfulness practices that can help you shift your focus, especially at night as you're ready to go to bed. You could do some form of yoga, perhaps Tai Chi, guided imagery, or progressive relaxation. Each of those will allow you to help relax your body and help relax your mind so that you can fall asleep. The third one, engage in a breathing exercise. Breathing exercises can help tame your racing heart, refocus the mind on your body. I have to do that a lot of times, especially if I've worked out late at night. The practice of slow breathing is one of them that is defined as taking 10 or fewer breaths per minute. That has been shown to result in increased relaxation and alertness, and to reduce symptoms of anxiety, depression, anger, and confusion. Another technique that you can try is what's called the 4-7-8 breathing routine. With the 4-7-8 breathing routine, you breathe in for 4 seconds, hold your breath for 7, and then exhale for 8. So that's 4 breathing in, 7 holding your breath, and 8 exhaling. That forces your mind to focus on regulating your breathing rather than whatever else it was that was troubling you. I have also tried that one. I find that it works. There are also a couple of apps that you can look at on your phone that may help you. One of them is called Calm, C-A-L-M. And another one that is pretty popular these days amongst people, in fact, my company was even pushing it, is called Headspace. They have got relaxation exercises as well that you can do. The fourth and final one, I call it better living through chemistry, but that's not what they called it. They called it take supportive supplements. There are supplements that you can take that can improve your sleep. One of them is rhodiola, R-H-O-D-I-O-L-A. That's a grass that grows in parts of Asia and Russia. It can assist you with your wind down routine. The study showed that taking 400 milligrams of that daily for 12 weeks reduced symptoms of anxiety, exhaustion, and irritability. It can also help combat stress, to help you fight fatigue, depression, and anxiety, and has a long history of being known as an adaptogen. And an adaptogen is a known non-toxic herb that increases stress resistance. Second herb that you can try, ashwagandha, A-S-H-W-A-G-A-N-D-H-A. That's another adaptogenic herb. It's been shown to balance out people's moods. It supports the adrenal glands, which produce a very fast-acting stress hormone called cortisol. So basically taking this one helps control the cortisol in your body, which helps control your stress levels. And taking that can help improve your relaxation and sleep. And the third one, which I'm sure a lot of you have probably heard of, is called melatonin. Melatonin is a hormone produced naturally in the body, but you can actually get it in supplement form. It's available at almost any, certainly at almost any, not necessarily drugstore, but health food store. It is one of the most popular and well-known sleep aids that you will find on the market, available in pills, liquids, and sublinguals. Now, in addition to consuming all of those, there are a couple of other things you can try that are still supportive and supplemental in some ways. Inhalation therapy. If you're into aromatherapy, you can try lavender. Lavender is one that is very good for helping people sleep. Chamomile is also one. So those essential oils are also easily available and can have a statistically significant impact on depression, anxiety, and stress levels. So those are 4 ideas. If you decide to do any of them, one of the most important things is examine the quality of your sleep and keep records. Keep a sleep log or a journal to see what is working and what is not. If you happen to have a Fitbit or something like that, a Fitbit or an Apple Watch, there are a lot of apps on there that'll tell you how your sleep is going. You might even get an automatic thing that says, it looks like you've been sleeping better, and here are the results. So but watch what you're doing. Watch whether or not it's making a difference. With regard to life coaching, one of the things is always going toward the light. There is no perfect solution. There's nothing that's guaranteed, but it's always about making things better and making things more positive. So the bottom line is, if sleep troubles are something that you are having issues with, it's very common. You're not alone. Don't beat yourself up over it. Stressing over it only leads to more stress, which is going to make it worse. So instead, arm yourself with several of these tools in order to de-stress yourself at night. And you can employ one or more of them to help you catch up on some quality Z's. All right, having covered all of that, we're going to go now through some of our agenda. We have got 2 speakers tonight, so we've got a pretty full agenda. Before we do any of those, let's go through some of the duty holders and let's see what some of our minor duty holders are going to do for us this evening. First on the agenda is going to be our timer, Dagan Newland. Dagan, tell us what you will be doing for us tonight as timer.
As timer, I'll be timing the different sections of the meeting. That would be the prepared speeches, table topics, and evaluations. Since both speakers are doing their icebreakers tonight, I guess they'll be both. Oh, it should be 4 to 6.
Adelita is actually going to do 5 to 7. I talked with her about it. She had one that was perfect, she was happy with, and is going to do 5 to 7 for hers.
Okay, then Tom will be 4 to 6, and Adelita will be 5 to 7. But either way, when they hit their minimum time for speeches at 4 or 5 minutes, respectively, they'll get the green. When they met minimum time, that'd be 5 to 6 respectively. They hit the yellow, and hit the maximum time of 6 or 7 minutes. They'll get the red time, and they'll have 30 seconds to wrap up. But you will have 30 seconds leeway at the beginning before the green as well. And for table topics, you are 1 to 2 minutes, and you get the green at 1, 1.5 yellow, and 2 red, and you have 30 seconds to wrap up. But you do not get that beginning 30-second leeway. You must hit 1 minute during table topics. And for evaluations, it'll be 2 to 3 minutes. So green at 2, 2.5 yellow, and 3 in red. And once again, you do have 30-second leeway on either side for evaluations. So to recap, you have leeway on both ends on speeches and evaluations, but on table topics, you must hit that minimum of 1 minute. And of course, you have 30 seconds to qualify at the very end. Back to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you, Dagan, and I apologize for not mentioning the timing changes early up front. The general rule is that the goals that in your speech, they can be modified if you've got exactly what you want. The real point is you're trying to hit the goal that you're trying to hit. The only thing that we would really balk at is if you wanted to do every speech several minutes short and try to basically get out of stuff. So as long as you're doing what we expect and are not abusing rules, we're fine with waiving them a little bit when needed. Our second duty holder for tonight is going to be our Posture Bell. Posture Bell is going to be Lee King. Lee, tell us what you'll be doing.
Yes, as posture monitor for this evening, my role will be to look for awkward postures or particularly good uses of posture and body language while you're speaking, and I will give a report during the general evaluation portion of the meeting. Back to Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Lee. Next, we have our R counter. Our counter is Justin Faust. Justin, tell us what your role is.
Yes, thank you, Toastmaster. So I'll be looking for any crutch words such as, of course, which I say a lot as well. So, any crutch words, any strange pauses, perhaps. I'm looking for that as well. Should I go into grammarian?
Sure, while you're there. Go for
Okay,
it.
sure. So let me actually share my screen. I'm listening for any good grammar, good use of the English language, but also any strange grammar or long pauses. The word of the day, you can bring up a PowerPoint. I like what Tom did. Last week, he really explained it. So I'm gonna go and explain it. It's anthropomorphize, which is attributes human characteristics or behaviors to a god, animal, or object. An example is when you say, I love my car, she's been so good to me, she's never broke down. That's an example of using it. Also, it's how you use it in sentence. Several cartoon TV shows tend to anthropomorphize animals by giving them the ability to speak and dress in clothing. As you see, Scooby-Doo here, he can speak. Goofy, he dresses and he can speak as well.
All right, thank you, Justin. Anything else?
No.
All right, so the final duty is going to be vote counter. I will be performing the vote counter duty tonight. We do have 2 speakers, which means 2 evaluators, and of course, table topics. So unless we have disqualifications, we will have 4 votes, one for each of those, as well as for the final big 3, which will be the Toastmaster, the general evaluator, or the table topics master. If we have a disqualification, then we do not vote. If there is a tie, it will be my job to break the tie, but I will not tell you that there was a tie, because if I do, then you know how I voted. Votes will be done or performed by going into the chat window. So if you don't have the chat window up, you may need to do that. There's a little 2 box that you may select myself, Mark Schroeder, as the person that you will send them individually to rather than everyone. So you can send them to me. I will see what your vote is. We don't have any way of doing it anonymously, I'm afraid. But at least you don't have to send it to everybody. I think that covers it. Oh, and I will produce a report of who won at the end of the meeting. All right, with that, I think we are now done with the duty holders. So we go into the next portion of our meeting, which is the prepared speeches. Each of our speakers tonight has prepared a speech for us, and they are now prepared to do so. We have 2 evaluators for each of our, one for each of our speakers. The first speech will be given by Adelita. Her evaluator is John Vessels. John, please tell us what Adelita's goals are for this speech.
Well, good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Tonight, Adelita is doing an icebreaker. As we know, our icebreaker is an introduction for her to give to us as our new Toastmasters group, kind of get to know her, see what her skills are and what her abilities are as far as speaking so far, and looking for things that, you know, might help her improve on during her speech things. Her speech is 5 to 7 minutes tonight instead of 4 to 6, which is a standard icebreaker. And the title of her speech is A Journey to a Career at 40. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, John. All right, with that, let me introduce Adelita Esparza, A Journey to a Career at 40. A Journey to a Career at 40, Adelita Esparza.
Thank you, Toastmaster. Welcome, new guests and fellow members. We all hit a point in our lives that we think to ourselves, there must be something better, which is where I found myself several years ago. I was at a job that did not excite me because I could not see the real future there. A future where I would grow, learn, and build relationships. I felt a calling to make a better life, no matter the circumstances. A calling that I had ignored because of life responsibilities. That is when I went out for a long walk at White Rock Lake and pondered, I need to get back into IT. That is where my passion lies. How am I going to pay for school? And when should I start? When I arrived home, I began to research for a community college and started planning on my career on paper. I was working in the telecommunication industry for over 11 years and making very little money. However, I did attend Richland Community College with the help of my father. In December 2017, I was laid off, and I graduated with a certificate as a software developer assistant. After the holiday break, I decided to look for work as a junior web developer. Obviously, I got rejected so many times because I didn't have the experience and the knowledge. To make a long novel short, I began to attend meetup hosted by Women Who Code every month. I went to these events because I needed to overcome the fear of stepping out of my comfort zone and to social network. One of the events I attended was International Women's Day. I was looking forward to hearing one of the speakers talk about How to Negotiate Your Salary by Lauren Hassan, a senior software developer. I met Lauren in the elevator after the event, and I told her about my journey. She encourages me not to give up, but to also research on cybersecurity, as that's going to be the next big thing in the future. In May 2019, I received a job post email from Women Who Code with the subject line, Bootcamp with 100% tuition coverage. The program was for 12 weeks, and it would be all woman cohort class. I gave it a try. I went through the interview process and got accepted. The first day, we started out with a little over 20 women, but as the weeks gone by, they began to drop like flies. During boot camp, we had to present our work using PowerPoint. And here's where my anxiety begins. I've never created a PowerPoint presentation, and I had to stand up at the podium to present my work. My first presentation only had 3 slides with no cover page as my introduction and a short demo of my work. I was nervous. I began to stutter because I didn't have a speech to go with my presentation. I was unprepared. As the weeks went by, we had to deliver one last presentation, our capstone work. I was mentally and physically exhausted. We were given less than 48 hours to have our PowerPoint and demo done. This time, I wanted to put a little bit more slides and fix the bugs in my code to have my online store working for demo. And it didn't give me enough time to work on my speech as I was too busy fixing my code. When it was my turn, nervously in the room, when it was my turn on the podium to present, I turned my head and looked at the screen and said, oh yeah, let's begin. I introduced myself and began reading all 9 slides and showed my demo. When I was done with everything, I noticed the areas where I needed to improve, public speaking and learn how to use PowerPoint. But I mentally said to myself, I will worry about it later. Shortly after everyone's presentation was done, they proceeded with the certificates as we all 13 women graduated from boot camp and became full stack software developers. I was given 2 job offers and decided to take the security analyst role only because it contains a little bit of everything, programming, networking, and more. After a year as a security analyst, reality hit me and noticed that the number of presentations with clients, internal employee meetings, and leadership meetings with the entire team was a normal activity they do every day. As I struggle in these areas, I asked my coworkers and mentors for recommendations. They suggested to check out Toastmasters, and so I did. I'm here to improve in speaking in front of a crowd with less nerves and learn how to lead a team. This is my journey, my first career. I was 41 years old. I didn't give up. I overcame the obstacles, and I am so damn proud of myself. Thank you. Back to you, Toastmasters.
Thank you, Adelita. Sorry, I was on mute. I had a phone call coming through here and I had to silence myself. So I appreciate that so much. I think that cybersecurity is certainly one of the hottest areas. For what it's worth, I've been with Hewlett Packard for 36 years. I can't say I've done no PowerPoints, but in those years, if I've done more than 5 PowerPoints, I would be amazed. I have stayed on Linux the entire time. Thank God Microsoft tools do not run on Linux. I don't do PowerPoint. I don't do Word. Anyway, appreciate your speech. Very well done. Our second speaker tonight is going to be Tom Taricki. Tom Taricki's evaluator is Dagan Newland. Dagan, let us know what Tom's goals are tonight. And yes, it's just a reminder for our timer, this one is 4 to 6.
Yeah, so way I'll be evaluating Tom is similar to way John was evaluating Ellie did, because it's the icebreaker speech. So we're basically going to get to know Tom and what his strengths and what he needs to work on, and also he also gave me a few other things to watch out for, like being concise and watch out for his filler words and things like that. So I'll be adding on that as well. So it's basically just get to know Tom and get to know his strengths and weaknesses and make my evaluation based on that. Back to you, Toastmaster.
All right. Thank you, Dagan. All right. So this one will be a fun one for me. I'm not that familiar with Tom's speaking outside of work, but he is an employee where I work, and I'm familiar with what he does inside work. I'm looking forward to this one. Please welcome Tom Turicki. Intro, take 5. Intro, take 5. Tom Turicki.
Thank you, Mark. Esteemed colleagues. So as Mark mentioned, this is my introductory speech. So it's an opportunity for you to get to know me a little bit better. And so toward that end, I need to start by acknowledging that I have been procrastinating this. Probably not for the first reasons that come to mind for many of you. I have not been anxious or worried about delivering this at all. I'm not lazy. In fact, quite the contrary. I'm one of those annoying people who has to always be busy with something. Just ask my family. I suck at beach vacations. No, the reason that I've been procrastinating this is that sadly, I'm a perfectionist. I have been agonizing over the content. What can I possibly tell you that'll fit in 4 to 6 minutes that will tell you all about me, that'll let you get to know me in some meaningful and useful way? Now, this is particularly ironic for 2 reasons. The first of all is it's not in any way central to my goals for participating in Toastmasters. And the second of all is it looks and sounds really easy, right? So my goals for joining Toastmasters were, first of all, I wanted to learn to think on my feet much better than I can today. Second of all, I wanted to learn to be more concise. And finally, I wanted to get rid of some of the bad habits that have crept in. And I'm sure you've observed that in my table talks. So if this looks easy and it is not central to my goals, why on earth is this hard? Why am I procrastinating? So to understand that, you have to understand the tortured logic of a perfectionist. Here's the crux of it. I'm telling myself it should be easy, and therefore I should be able to knock the ball out of the park. And if you've ever known a perfectionist, or if you are one yourself, you've learned by now that should is a 4-letter word. Don't be a should head. It gets in the way of progress. So that's what's behind that. My first take on putting together content for this was to give you a biographical picture of me. I'm married, 2 kids, I have a dog. I grew up in Dallas. My wife and I have lived here on McComas for 25 years now. And that is boring, boring, boring. That's like reading the phone book. I might as well just give you my census form and let you read it. But the real reason that I really was bothered by that was actually something deeper. Pop culture and the media loves to label us black, white, boomer, millennial, Republican, Democrat, vaccinated, unvaccinated. And then they take those labels and they want to put us in a box with those labels. I have applied this label to you, therefore I know you. I know how you vote, how you spend your time, how you think. And that's really, really, to be honest, it's really offensive to me, especially when it's accurate. Yes, I have to admit, I do let my kids help me work my phone. Those entitled little bastards. Anyway, my second approach was to share some personal stories. And my first whack at it, I crafted a story about an experience in my life where I overcame a challenge. I accomplished some really impressive things. And that, when I read it back, it was terrible. It just came across as really braggadocious. And it was just really, the thought of standing up and delivering it was just really cringy. Now, on the other side, there are lots of really interesting stories that my friends love to tell about me, about embarrassing episodes that I've had. And for reasons that are probably obvious, mostly a lot of them are TMI, I won't be sharing those here. But ironically, when I thought of all the possible stories that I could share with you, if I wanted to go that approach, it seemed like they all of the interesting ones fell into one of those two categories, either braggy or cringy. And all of the ones that didn't fit those categories, well, they were kind of boring. So then after that, I had an epiphany. This is not the problem. This is the solution. The problem is the solution. I can share with you the story of preparing for this speech. First of all, you're going to learn a lot about me. It's shockingly revealing. And second of all, it's relatable. You've all done these speeches. So now you know quite a bit about me. I procrastinate. I make things harder than they need to be. I'm my own worst enemy lots of times. Now, this is not a complete picture of me, clearly. There are a lot of traits, my intelligence, kindness, wit, my great charm, that those can wait for another day. Anyway, thanks very much, and I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Tom. Really enjoyed that. I think I can help you, by the way, with your problem with beach vacations. We vacation at the beach. My wife sits on the beach and reads. If she does, reads and sleeps and reads and sleeps and reads and sleeps. Me, I'm going to the bar to talk to people. Okay. I'm going catamaraning. Okay. I'm going out snorkeling. Okay. There are plenty of things to do if you just can't sit still. Trust me. You just have to be willing to go do them. All right. Thank you so much for your speech. At this point, I have to call on a timer's report for both of our speakers. Timer, how did our speakers do on their time tonight?
Both speakers qualified on time.
Excellent. Both of our speakers qualified on time. All right. That means both of our speakers are eligible for a vote. So if you would, please go ahead and cast a vote. Those of you who are guests, you are welcome to vote as well. I am the vote counter. Go to your chat window, find in the little pull down the name Mark Schroeder, and please cast your vote for one of our two speakers, either Adelita, our first speaker, or Tom, our second speaker. Also, if you would like to write any comments to our speakers, you can either send those to me and I will forward them, or you can go ahead and send your comments directly to the speakers. We do appreciate any comments that you have, especially things that they did well, things that you would maybe have a very firm and concrete suggestion that might have made it a little bit more exceptional. And I'll give everybody just a moment to do that, and then we will move to the next portion. All right, at this point, looks like I've got quite a few of them that have come in. The next portion of our meeting is Table Topics. Table Topics is going to be run tonight by Karen Lee. First of all, Karen has been our Zoom master. She's going to be very busy. If you have anything that you need from a Zoom standpoint, I'm going to be the coordinator and facilitator. So get with me while Karen is doing her Table Topics work. Please welcome Karen Lee, Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Mark. This portion of our meeting is our impromptu speaking portion, where I ask a question and you're given at least a minute to speak. You also have to use the word of the day, which is anthropomorphize, be eligible for table topics. And I'll go ahead and ask a few questions. Are there any of our guests that would be interested in participating? Cameron? Okay. All right. At this point in time, I'll ask Lee King, do you eat or drink something to help you go to sleep? Lee King.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. I have heard a lot of myths and theories about different things that can help you sleep. I think one of the more common ones is warm milk. But I have to say that there has been nothing that helps me sleep. I can't say that there is any one substance that I anthropomorphize for sleeping. I do, however, have to have a small dessert every night, it seems like, in order to feel fully relaxed. But with that said, I don't have any specific remedy that helps with sleeping. I wish I did. I do have a hard time sleeping at night. So certainly if there was something that I could eat or drink that would help me sleep, I would definitely consider that. With that said, if it was high calorie, then I probably wouldn't, because I wouldn't want to gain a bunch of weight just to try to sleep. So in summary, I really don't have anything. I would say that some type of a dessert is always nice. I, of course, prefer chocolate, but unfortunately, it doesn't come that easy. Back to you, Madam Table Topic Master.
Thank you, Lee. The next question is, do you play music to go to sleep? John Vessels.
Thank you, Karen. No, I don't play music to fall asleep. I have 2 fans going in my room, and that white noise is what helps me go to sleep. And actually, now that I'm a bit older, I can just lean over and I can fall asleep. So that really works out for me because I don't have any trouble falling asleep anymore. I do on occasion, if I start thinking about work, then I start organizing, getting flustered, and so I just have to kick that out of my head. And I sometimes kind of start a daydream, and that daydream will usually put me under inside of 2 or 3 minutes. I don't keep my eyes open more than a couple of minutes when I lay down, and I'm out. Now, I don't stay asleep all night, and I don't see any ghosts or anything coming at me, so I don't know that I can anthropomorphize any of those kind of things, but I have had a few nightmares where I thought I saw things, but that's a whole nother story. I know I just sleep about, really, if I'm good, if I get 6 hours, and then I wake up and then I kind of end up cat napping the rest of the night, but I probably only get about 6 hours of good steady sleep. Then after that, it's just napping until I wake up or I have to get up for work. Back to you, Karen.
Thank you. Our next question is, what are some of your favorite foods that you eat when you're stressed? Madeline.
This is a great question. So I actually encountered this recently. Some of my favorite comfort foods include breakfast foods. So I love a good set of pancakes. And then also I love tofu eggs because I don't eat eggs. So just like a scramble of that. Typically go for breakfast food, maybe Asian food as well. So just kind of a heavy carb, something that ironically will put me to sleep as we are talking about. Those are typically the types of foods that I lean towards when I'm stressed. That's all I've got. Back to you, Karen.
Thank you. When you turn your mind off to go to sleep, Dagan. I'll time you, Dagan.
Yeah, somebody can time me.
Yes, I'll time you. Hang on just a minute.
Yeah, I'm working toward it too. If she can't find it fast enough. I'm ready if you want.
Then repeat the question.
How do you turn your mind off to go to sleep, Dagan?
Well, I don't really have anything that I turn my mind off. I'm kind of like John when he talks about you can just roll over and go to sleep. I'm pretty much like that. I do go to bed, kind of early. When I go to bed, you get in bed, get on my phone and watch a little TV, but I'm not quite tired yet. But when I get to that point, I'm tired. I just roll over, fall asleep. I can fall asleep just like that. But actually, I've always kind of been that way. Really, not just because I'm getting older, but just I've always been that way. And I can actually sleep throughout the night. Nothing will wake me up. A locomotive could come right through the house, and I'd still be asleep. I mean, I sleep hard. Whereas my other half, some little noise goes on and wakes up right away. So, but me, man, I sleep hard, like I said. So, anything I don't have a trigger to relax me. It's just I just go to sleep when I'm going to sleep. Back to you, tabletop master.
Okay. And the last question I have, what are some ways that you found to make it easier to fall asleep, Justin?
That is a great question, Karen. So sleeping for me have always been pretty difficult. I'm not like Dagan or John. It takes me at least about 45 minutes to fall asleep. My mind runs crazy, thinking about different things, maybe cartoons, maybe anthropomorphizing Scooby-Doo or Goofy or Mickey Mouse or even Donald Duck sometimes. So what I have been doing recently, I've been taking magnesium. And magnesium is a mineral that does help with sleep. It helps you relax. Also helps out with constipation. Helps out with a lot of different things you might need. So I've been taking that when I fall asleep. I love to make the room very dark, pitch black, no noise, maybe a fan, that's it. And I really like to enjoy just thinking about nothing. If I can get my mind thinking about nothing, then I can fall asleep in, I'll say 30 minutes. If my mind is racing, it takes me a full hour. I do not fall asleep very easy at all, Karen. Thank you.
All right, thank you. At this point in time, I'll ask for a timer's report. Dagan, I had you at 1 minute. And how about everybody else?
Yes, everybody qualified on time.
Okay, and then I'll ask for a grammarian's report. Did everybody use the word of the day, Justin?
Fortunately, everybody did not. So Lee King did, John did, and I did. That was it.
Okay. So now I'll ask for a vote for best table topic. So those that qualify are Lee, John, and Justin. So please send your votes to Mark Schroeder. And Mark, did you have anything else right now?
Not really, but I will add, just because it came up, Justin mentioned the idea of having the room entirely pitch black. That is one of the other things that I've heard makes a huge difference. If you have a night light or anything that is producing a fair amount of light in your room, or even if you happen to have perhaps a phone with a blinking light next to your bed on the nightstand, the recommendation is to either cover that, face it away, something, because every little bit of light will affect how much you get interrupted in your sleep. So that's a good point to at least add, given that it was brought up. Other than that, I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, I'll go ahead and turn our meeting over to Lee King as our general evaluator for the evaluation portion of the meeting. Thank you.
Yes, good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. This is the evaluation portion of the meeting where we have the opportunity to get evaluations on the various portions of the meeting. Once we hear from our speech evaluators, we'll then move into a general evaluation of the meeting as a whole, concluding with duty holder reports. We'll start with our first evaluator for this evening, who evaluated Adelita. And so if we could have that evaluator, please.
All right, thank you. I am going to evaluate Alita. Thank you. Welcome, fellow Toastmasters and guests, especially Alita. I want to say that I thought you did a very good presentation tonight. I think the absolute best thing was your speech content preparation. You had a very good opening. You wrapped it up with a really good closing. And in between, we heard about 3 different kind of steps that you did to approach how you wanted to improve your life and how you wanted to find you a new career. And you presented that all very well, very organized and very entertaining. It was good information and it was pleasant and just right there on the money. One thing I think you need to work on, or one thing you did, was at one point you apologized to us. Never apologize to us. If you mess up, just move on, because we don't know that in other situations that you did something wrong. We don't know the content of your speech, so just present it. Never apologize in the middle of a speech. Just move on with the thing. Also, the one other thing is, and right after you had that break, you tried to represent that line, just to present it the way you are. Every once in a while, I've got this line in my head and I'm going to deliver it this way, and it doesn't come out, just let it go. Okay. Because if you try to repeat the same line, it just tells us that we're nervous, or you just messed it up and you wanted to get it out there. All in all, let me see. One thing, I would maybe rehearse your speech a little bit more. It kind of goes back to your not being prepared for, when you did your test and you didn't rehearse your speech as much as you did make your PowerPoints and get your coding right. And you kind of left that speech out, or left that preparation out. I think you did a really good job. And I know I didn't really notice you using notes a lot. So I know you glanced every once in a while, so you're probably, getting there, and that's fine. But just a little more rehearsal on that would have made it maybe go a little bit more smoother. I know you're, of course, nervous. It's the very first speech that you're giving with us. We don't bite, trust me. We're all very supportive here. We want you to do a good job. And, we're never going to slam you. We're just going to tell you some of those points that you might want to work on and how you make it improvements, because that's what our goal here is, to help you out and get you better. All in all, though, I loved the way you wrapped it up. I love in the beginning that line that says, well, let's not make this a long novel. I thought, oh, I never heard that, but you didn't say a long story short, which is everybody says. I thought your line about a long novel was excellent. That was really good. But all in all, really good preparation, really good opening and closing, and your preparation and the journey that we took with you was very well organized, and you did a really good job. Thank you.
Thank you, John. We had a second speaker for this evening, also an icebreaker, Tom. Could I please have Tom, the evaluator, give his evaluation?
And who's timing me?
1 second. Ready?
All right. All right, Tom, thank you for that speech. I actually really enjoyed that. So I'm going to evaluate based on a 3-2-1 method. 3 things I liked, a couple of things I thought they could make an improve on, and one really excellent thing that I really enjoyed. So first thing is, I want to talk about that I liked is, you had some really good body language during your speech. And for example, like a couple times you leaned forward to make a point. So that was very, dramatic and made your point, a lot better. And you had some good gestures when I could see them. So that was really good. Another thing is, the body of the speech itself was really good. You told us about why you wanted to join Toastmasters. You talked about speaking off the cuff, being concise, and so forth. Then you went into a couple things of, how you're going to, do your speech. And, talked about the, personal stories, and about how prepping for speech and all, that was really good. It flowed really well. So that's what I liked. So your body speech, flowed really well with the timeline. Another thing was, you asked me to watch out for filler words. You did have a point where you said and, but overall, I was wondering if it's a positive note, because overall, I think you did really good. And I hardly heard anything. I don't know about our all counter, I might say, but I didn't catch them. So overall, I thought that was really good. So a couple things I thought maybe improve on is the very beginning is that you said, you told us why you were doing your speech. You could have left that part out, because basically that's what I just did. I was telling why you were giving your speech, so you could have just left that out. And the second thing is that, and your conclusion was really good, but on the very beginning, I thought the opening could have been made a little bit more robust, a little bit. But overall, that's what I thought you need to improve on. And one thing I really, really enjoyed is, you kind of mentioned yourself towards the end, is that it's how you did your speech to get us for us to get to know you. You talked about how you got Toastmasters. You talked about how you were planning on doing this speech, which then ultimately got us to get to know you. So I actually really liked that format that you did it that way. So I really enjoyed that. So overall, good body language. Toast about some stuff. Good. Use of not using filler words. Work on the. You could let the part about telling us why you did speech. Work on the opening, and overall, just really, really awesome speech. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you, Dagan. At this kind of time, could I please have a timers report from our respective timers? Mark, did Dagan qualify on time?
Sorry, I was sending it to Dagan for him to report.
Okay, never mind.
Answer was exactly 3 minutes.
Yes,
He did.
And John qualified on 2.
Okay, great. All right, at this time, please vote between who you felt did the better between the two of Dagan and John. And send that over to Mark Schroeder. As you do that, I will go ahead and move into a evaluation of the meeting as a whole. Overall, this was a very well organized, planned meeting. I think one of the best that we've had in a really long time. We had the agenda up on the website by lunchtime today. Of course, I know some of that's the Toastmasters, the same person who posts to the website, which obviously is a little bit easier. But overall, we started right on time. We're gonna finish on time, including the business report meeting, which does not happen very frequently. So I'm very glad about that. The Toastmaster did a really good job of managing his time, gave us a lot of information, good, useful information as the theme, but kept the meeting moving. And I think that's really important. All of our duty holders were well prepared, gave good introductions, explaining what their role was. And then finally concluding with, well, and then also our table topics master did stick with the theme. She asked questions. The only thing I would suggest is to just go into table topics, ask a few questions, and then ask our guests if any of them would like to participate. Generally speaking, if you ask guests up front if they want to participate, they will probably decline. But perhaps if they see that others of us have answered questions and we survived, they might be a little more inclined to want to participate. Our evaluators for this evening both did great jobs, very good with the summaries. You were very constructive, positive throughout your evaluation, and you left with summaries, which is required for the contest in evaluations. With that being said, I will now go into the duty holder report. I'll go ahead and just start with mine as posture monitor. Overall, great posture. The only thing that I really noticed, I saw a lot of really good posture. The only critique that I would have would be with Tom. I noticed that during your speech, you tended to kind of go side to side a little bit, but you did have some very good gestures throughout your speech as well, counting out where you could see your fingers. You leaned in and backed away from the camera at appropriate times. Very well, very effective use of your stage. Same thing with Alita in your speech, very good use of stage in the constraints that we have. Made very good use of facial gestures, and that makes a big difference. I didn't really catch anything else throughout the meeting that was particularly noteworthy. Everyone did a really good job. I will now call on Justin, who will do the grammarian and all counters report.
Yes, so let me do the all counter first, and then I will grow into grammarian. So let me do all counter first. Adelita and Tom both had nothing throughout their speech, pretty well prepared speeches. All counter, Lee was fine during table topics, so was John. Madeline, you had one so, you had three ums. Dagan had a and two so's. And me, I had one during table topics. Let me go into grammarian. So Mark, it was pretty interesting. You talked about de-stressing, quality Z's, different supplements that you can take to enhance sleep. The Asian and Russian grass, that was pretty interesting. So Adelita, during your speech, it's pretty interesting. The visuals that you gave, like you walking at White Rock Lake, that was pretty interesting. Planning a career at 40, software developer assistant, long novel short, that was pretty interesting. Stepping out of my comfort zone, cybersecurity, boot camp, 100% tuition covered. Let me think anything else. The PowerPoint presentation, you give a pretty good visual and pretty good like explanation of it. The demo, full stack developer presentation, check out Toastmasters. So damn proud of myself. We are so damn proud of you. Let's go into Tom. Yours was very interesting, Tom. Procrastination, you're a perfectionist, thinking on my feet, learning to be concise, tortured logic of a perfectionist. That was pretty interesting, pretty good insight. Pop culture, labels, how we all put us all in a box, the media does. That's pretty interesting. Entitled Little Bastards. That was pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. Braggadocious, embarrassing episodes. So braggy or cringy, that was pretty good use of like both being balanced on both sides. That was pretty much it for you, Tom. Very interesting, colorful words. Lee King, you talked about having a dessert, no remedy for sleep. John, you talked about daydreaming and you falling asleep in a couple minutes. That was pretty good. Madeline, you spoke about breakfast food and different food that you ate. That was also pretty interesting. I think that's pretty much it I have for grammarian and good use of English language. It's pretty good. I don't really hear any bad uses of the English language tonight, so it's pretty good. And I think that's it.
All right. At this time, I will ask for one final vote, and that would be the best of the big three, which would be Mark Schroeder as Toastmaster, Karen Lee as Table Topics Master, and myself as General Evaluator. Please take this time to vote for the person that you felt did the best job from those three individuals that I listed. And we will now move into the business portion of the meeting, which will actually be fairly short. We do have a few things to take care of. We do actually have a couple of guests. I do want to provide our guests with opportunities to just tell us a little bit about how they found us and what they thought about the meeting. And we will start with April.
Yes, I was here last week. So, like I said, I came across the YouTube video and they was talking about Toastmasters. So I'm back again, try to see if something that I really be interested in. So,
Okay. And what did you think about our meeting?
I loved it. I like the fact that you guys were talking about stress and different ways of falling asleep. So it was very interesting.
All right, great. Thank you. Our second guest for this evening is Heather. Heather, will you please tell us how you found us and what you thought of the meeting?
Yeah, I actually just gave a little speech at work and kind of getting up where I'm presenting more and more. So thinking about that was kind of trying to get into Toastmasters. And yeah, I really enjoyed the meeting. A fun sleep fact, they did a study where they like took a laser and they pointed it at like your elbow or something. And the light from the laser actually impacted your sleep, even though, you know, your face was in the dark. So it's really, really important to have a super dark room, like get those blackout blinds, put duct tape over the lights, make sure you're in a good sleep environment.
All right, great. Well, thank you. And thank you very much. We now have to vote on a new member. Madeline visited us last week and she isn't joined. So this is just a procedural thing that Toastmasters International asks that every club does when someone intends on joining, just in case there are any problems. Not that we have ever had any problems in our club. At this time, Mark, could you go ahead and move her out so we could hold the vote and then move her back in when we're done voting?
Just 1 second. I'm negotiating with Karen whether I'm going to do it or she's going to do it.
Oh,
So
okay.
so that we both don't try to do it at the same time.
You're gonna, if I do it, you're gonna have to give me tell me how to do it again, because I don't
Yeah,
remember.
just you do it, Mark, real quick. Be quicker.
Okay, we'll just go ahead and have me do it real quick, but I will tell you what I'm doing as I'm doing it so you can be familiar with it. Oh, you can't actually do it. There's a reason you can't do it. I never made you a co-host, did I? 1 quick second, let me do that just so that you can at least see what I'm doing. Co-host. Okay, so there's a button down near the bottom, which will be a breakout room. For me, it's actually under the ... more right now because I've got so many other things on my screen. I bring up the breakout rooms. I'm going to create one breakout room assigned manually. And then what I'm going to do is open all rooms and move Madeline into it. So I open the room, find Madeline, and assign her to the room. All right, so we give it a moment. We think that that means Madeline moves. Let's prove that.
There we go.
Looks like she's gone to me.
All right, at this time, Madeline has interest in joining Dallas Social Toastmasters. She has paid her dues. Do I have a motion that we accept her into our club?
I motion that we set Madeline into the club.
Okay, do I have a second? Got a second? Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Mark, will you please go ahead and bring her back in?
All right, I'm going to move her back in rather than just closing the room. Sometimes it takes a full minute to close the room. Moment. Okay, she should be back in the room.
There she is.
Yay.
All right, welcome in, Madeline. Welcome to Dallas Social Toastmasters.
Thank you. Hello.
You're welcome. All right, the only other thing that I really have is just a reminder that next week is the Metro Division contest. Mark Sims, one of our members, will be participating in that contest for Tall Tales. So rather than having a Dallas Social Toastmasters meeting next week, we will be moving our meeting to the Metro Division contest. Rob Giles will send out the link this week, and you'll just go to that link instead of this link. The contest is through Zoom, so it's pretty much the same as this. The difference is just we're going to listen to the contest. Mark, I know you were working on Haunted House. Did you have anything that you wanted to report?
Well, there's been a little bit of interest, but there hasn't been a whole lot of interest. And some of it came in today, and today was a very busy work day for me. I need to see if I have enough people that are available on the same day to make it worthwhile. Or if I've only got one or two people and available on the same day, we may or may not be able to do it. So let me do a tally. And if anybody that's interested in doing a haunted house, I put up 3 days, and I don't remember what the days were, but I believe it was
the 15th, 16th, and the 23rd.
Yeah, it was
I think.
like both Friday and Saturday, I think, of this weekend and the Friday of next
Friday.
weekend, because
22nd.
I've got something going on the
22nd.
Saturday. So if anybody is interested in adding their name in it, let me know. And otherwise, I will get back to the people that have already submitted answers. There were 3 choices, which were Reindeer Manor, which is down at Red Oak. 4 houses to go through there. I believe I put on Thrillvania instead of Cutting Edge. Cutting Edge is indoors, all indoors. Thrillvania may have some outdoors, but it's another fairly interesting one and always rates pretty highly. And the third one was just that we do an evening online with Zoom, and we go through it with YouTube videos, which we did last year because of COVID. So those are the 3 choices.
All right.
Thank
So if you're interested, please email Mark after this meeting and let him know what your preferences are. And at this point, we will go ahead and get a vote. Counters report. Mark Schroeder.
All right, thank you so much, Lee. All right, well, we had 3 fully contested races tonight, which is really good, and we had no disqualifications. I'm going to go through them in chronological order. Our best speaker tonight, drum roll, please. Okay, I'm not hearing any drums, but I'm seeing them. That's good enough. Congratulations, Adelita. Best speaker tonight. All right, so there's one. Table topics. Table topics tonight, we had a winner as well. Our winner tonight for table topics is Justin Faust. Congratulations, Justin. Third tonight would be for our evaluator. Best evaluator tonight is Dagan Newland. Congratulations, Dagan. And finally, best of the big three. Best of the big three tonight, and I'm not really cheating. It really was voted for Mark Schroeder. So I will take it, and thank you all for voting.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We will see you all at the division contest and meet again in 2 weeks. This meeting is adjourned.
Thanks,
All right.
everyone.
Stopping the recording here in 3, 2,